I want to say something about, what I discovered about how closely allied with each other and covering for each other these psychiatrists are, and also how easily they're manipulated by psychos. Um, when I told one of the psychiatrists at this place what the doctor had done, that he had staged a psychodrama, that it induced a breakdown. Without I asking her to, she asked him about it, as though he would tell her if that he did something unethical like that. Now, what's interesting is he could have easily just said, "Oh, nothing like that happened." That's not true. I don't know where he's getting that from. That's crazy. He went out of his way. He told a ridiculous cover story that she. He told a cover story that the cover story itself told me that he did that. I certainly didn't imagine it. That can't be true. But on top of that, the fact is that he went out of his way to tell a cover story and then to say that I was psychotic. And, discredit me that way. Now, he didn't have to go that length. And also, she didn't ask my permission before asking him. And what was interesting is she listened to what had to be it couldn't possibly be true what he said. She didn't even think twice about it. But also, he went out of his way to say I was psychotic. Well, the truth is that what he's called psychotic is the reaction I had when I realized what they were doing, and that they were doing this to me, and I did become really crazy with fear and rage, and certainly to do that to a traumatized person, what they were doing was naturally. But he went out of his way to tell this story and to say I was psychotic, which is false. Certainly not at that point. But the fact that she went out of her way to ask him about it as though like that without asking me, and then that she believed such a flimsy lie and thought it was just ridiculous that I would say that, and said, isn't it possible the doctor is just, clumsy or something, and the thing is, I almost believed her for a long time. They do make you doubt yourself, but what an incredible amount of industry that she would just assume that a doctor would never lie or do anything unethical. And when I did finally get to a proper rehab, I asked the psychodramatist if he'd ever heard of someone trying to use that technique in real life without the consent of the patient. And he said, I don't think it's out of the question. I just certainly wouldn't feel comfortable participating in something like that. But I don't think that's far-fetched at all that could be done. I could see that. Okay, well, I spent a long time having them believe this guy, that I had imagined that when I didn't. But the truth is, I did start to question it. And the thing is, by going out of his way to discredit me like that, one of the things is he continued, I thought this person did not have particularly, high opinion of one of my parents. But what he did is he made it very difficult for me to be believed. And therefore, that's one reason I had to leave there and ended up living in a disability in a fucked up place because it made it that much harder to end a relationship. The fact that they worked together like that, and what's so interesting is when he called up the other rehab, where these people are much more kind, they recognized immediately and said to me, something, this doctor's been calling up and we want to tell you something. First of all, it's very obvious that this is not a nice person. He says, it was really obvious he's chasing his patient down because he makes a lot of money trying to, off you. And second of all, it was really obvious that he was interested in covering himself for things he'd done. I mean, it was just all there, and we're not calling him back, and we don't want him involved in this, but that is not a nice person. And the fact that they recognize that so easily, and the only difference is that they're not psychiatrists, they're various types of therapists, but they're not psychiatrists. And they don't have this allegiance to each other like that, and I find that to be really startling. One thing is, this goes on in ways that I didn't even realize until I went to that rehab, and a woman approached me who was giving a lecture on, boundary violations and abuse, and she said I liked something I said, and she wanted to talk to me, and she opened up to me a little, and what she told me was so interesting, that she had something happen that that she had a husband who was physically abusive to her. And she charged him with assault and everything. And the court sentenced him to a mandatory counseling with a social worker. And what he was able to do was the social worker he got counseling with was the neighbor of he and his wife, was their neighbor who did not particularly have a good relationship with her, and he was a really charming guy. And after many weeks of social work with this woman, not only did he charm her into saying that he had completed it and that she, got him off that with the court, but that she actually gave a list to him of antidepressants that this woman could take because she felt that she was unstable. Now that's at the point she left the marriage, but you know that can go on. I mean, that's really incredible. I mean, the people being on the run like that. I mean, did and none of that is possible. None of that is possible without these social scientists and stuff abusing the power like that and being that stupid. And they just can't go. A guy like that who was beating his wife. I mean, and there was someone like my father. They can't get away with that unless there's these people in this industry that pull this shit. And I just wanted to tell that on the video and just throw it out there and just to put it up online for no other reason than I'm going over this myself the last couple of days and seeing what my options are, and it's just worth putting it up as it comes to my mind.